Shorties.
Okie dokie, here we go. The best from fantasy and science fiction. The fifth series, we're skipping 1 through 4. Ooh, but Boston Herald says this contains the cream of the crop. If you're into uh, crop cream, that is edited by Anthony Boucher. I love the cover. I'm pretty sure it's at Powers, but it's just this little spaceman. The spaceship is cool. Kind of gives us a very squid slash shark look to it. Very, very cool. If it's Powers, good job, Powers. I take back most of everything I've ever said about you. I just like this guy. He's matching his spaceship. They both dressed alike. What are you wearing? All right, there's the back of that. Stop making stupid jokes. Let's get to it, Jake. All right. Damon Knight, you're another. Oh, wait. Yeah, Frederick Brown looks like he does the introduction. Damon Knight, you're another. Arthur C. Clarke, this Earth of Majesty. Mildred Klingerman, Birds Can't Count. Oh, I'm doing it backwards. Oh, it doesn't matter. Avram Davidson, The Golem. Zena Henderson, Potage. Charles Beaumont, The Vanishing American. Alice Eleanor Jones, Created He Them. 4 vignettes. Frederick Brown, Too Far. James Blish, Matter of Energy. Anthony Boucher, Nethela. Isaac Asimov, Dream World. Shirley Jackson, One Ordinary Day with Peanuts. Raymond D. Banks, The Short Ones. Mildred Klingerman again, The Last Prophet. P.M. Hubbard, Botany Bay. Botany Bay. Botany Bay. You guys remember that from Wrath of Khan? Anyway, Walter M. Miller Jr., Canticle for Leibowitz. Oh, ever heard of Canticle for Leibowitz? Oh, I wonder if that's just a part of it though. Is Canticle's a fix-up? Okay, so this must be a part of the Canticle fix-up. I hope I don't get that because I've been wanting to read the whole thing, and I hope this isn't like part 2. L. Sprague de Camp, Lament for a Maker. Richard Matheson, Pattern for Survival. Isaac Asimov, The Singing Bell. Chad Oliver and Charles Beaumont, The Last Word. Okay, 17. Oh wait, there's more than that because they counted these vignettes. Should I do these vignettes? They're only like a page or two. Okay, I'll count the 4 vignettes. I'll count them as one. Okay, that's what the book does. All right, 1 through 17. Number 6. Number 6 is Charles Beaumont, The Vanishing American. Let's go. All right, I just finished reading The Vanishing American by Charles Beaumont, and there's a little intro before the story, and it says here, if ever, Ray Bradbury wrote in a recent letter, I could safely predict a very large future for anyone, it is for Charles Beaumont. Now, the funny thing is, I don't have anything by Charles Beaumont. I don't have anything. I pointed my back wall. I don't have anything in my collection by Charles Beaumont. This was the first story I've ever seen or heard of him. So, I mean, after I'm done here, I am going to do a little bit of digging, a little bit of research because this was an enjoyable little story. The Vanishing American. First, a little bit about when I was reading this book cover. My kids came in. They're like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, reading a story." And I sat it down to talk with them, and they both started laugh. Like 2 of my kids started laughing, and I'm like, "What are you guys laughing at?" And they said that funny space guy in the cover, and like you could see his little face here, or his little face here, and I was like, "That's not funny looking." It's kind of cool actually. It's a little space age, matching his ship there. And they said, "No, Dad." And they were looking at it upside down, which admittedly upside upside down it is actually hilarious. But anyway, has a ton of short stories in here. I mean, this one's jam packed. I kind of like it when they're jam packed. But yeah, let's talk about The Vanishing American. The story opens with a man named Mr. Minchell, and he is working at some kind of data entry analyst job, and he's there putting in the hours, click, 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 just very dull existence. He walks, he's clocks in, works, walks out, and it's a very, very short, very contained story that basically chronicles him, you know, finishing his work, getting off work, and stopping at a bar, getting a drink, and as he goes through these very, very simple steps, he begins to notice something. Nobody notices him. And since this has just been his life all along, this has been his life, he doesn't even seem to notice it. It doesn't even, at first it takes, I could think if I'm talking with somebody and they don't respond, like, maybe that's something out of the ordinary, but he's just so accustomed to it that he's in this big city walking around and he has this sudden revelation like, I'm invisible, or maybe I'm dead because I just vanished and nobody noticed. He goes home to his wife and his teenage son, and he realizes that they're not acknowledging him either, and they're just going about their business. And this is kind of a melancholic, and also had it was a very melancholic story at first because this guy, he couldn't pinpoint the exact moment when he disappeared. For all he knew, he could have been invisible or a ghost or whatever. It's not sure, it's not explained. He could have been this way for months, and just going through the routine. And if any of you have ever had lived in a larger city, or, had a job that's more of a cubicle style, data entry, clock in, clock out, walk by the boss, hello, Mr. So-and-so, the receptionist, they don't respond. It really does strike a chord. And so the first half of this was very, very melancholic, and it's only 11 pages, so I am going to spoil this one. So just letting you know, like going forward here, it's going to be spoilers. Would I recommend this? I would recommend this. There's like 17 stories jam packed in here, and looking at some of them, and I've read the list when I did the roll. Great. I mean, it has the first installment of Canticle to Leibowitz in it. Like, very, very good. Uh, get it. Okay, so now I'm going on to the spoilers. Mr. Minchell runs out of his house. He's distraught. He's very sad, but it's very, very. At this point, I'm like, I'm actually feeling something, because he's like, what kind of life have I been living if nobody noticed when I turned invisible? And so he's wandering aimlessly through the streets of, I don't know if it ever said what city it was. Maybe it was New York. But that's kind of the feel you get of a very big city. And outside of a library, I believe it's a library, there's a giant lion statue. He called it King Richard. Um, and this giant lion statue is, he had always fantasized when he was young about hopping on this and riding riding it. He's like, how cool would that be to do that? He's like, I would, of course, never do that. And then he says, what the heck? I'm invisible. I don't know why. Maybe I'm a ghost. What the heck? I'm going to jump on this statue and ride it. And it's kind of this very like emotional, beautiful little scene where he climbs atop this giant lion statue and just rides it. And his imagination goes wild, and he's imagining tearing through the city and people are running, and he's the only one who can tame this wild lion holding on by its mane, and he's hooting and hollering, and then he's sobbing, and then he's crying, and he's like, middle-aged men don't cry, but in that moment I cried from that release of that creativity, the release of imagination, coupled with all of the things going on in his life, the devastation, the loss, the realization that he's wasted his entire existence. And then he hears laughter, and he looks down, and there's people laughing at him. There's, some youths laughing at him. And he's like, you guys can see me? And they just keep laughing, and people are making fun. And then there's another middle-aged man who's like, hey, stop making fun of him. If he wants to ride the lion, let the man ride the lion. And he's like, come up here with me, but and he's like, I can't, I got a date. But then, like, it's actually a very beautiful line, because he tries to get this other middle-aged man, come up here with me, and the guy's like, you could tell he wants to, and he's like, I can't, I got a date. But he said, I'll be seeing you. And uh Mr. Minchell replies, yeah, you'll be seeing me. And it's just 11 pages, this tiny little snippet of a story, but it was beautiful. It was a beautiful little story. It's kind of the it reminded me of very Twilight Zone esque, how it's very nothing's really explained. There's no science. We don't get an explanation for him turning invisible or whatever. There's no explanation for it. It's just an idea that Charles Beaumont had, and he attached that idea to a very real thing, a very real affliction that afflicts a lot of people, of this feeling of meaning, of purpose. Like, if I turn invisible, would would anybody even notice? And through that act of imagination, through that act of just doing what you want to do and not just trying to cram and shoehorn yourself into this mold, this societal mold, people notice. People notice you, and people want that as well. Beautiful, beautiful little story. Yeah, I would track down the Ace, the best from fantasy and science fiction, the 5th series from Ace. Reading this story made me want to go through and read some more of them. So track it down. Beautiful little story. See ya.